Hey guys, I'm Gordon.
And I'm Alice.
Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and leave us a comment and let us know what you think of our content. Today we're talking about Millinocket, Maine and Loring Air Force Base.
For me, Loring Air Force Base was quite a surprise. We really enjoyed it and we want to share that with you.
This is kind of like a step back in time in a way for both Alice and I. We ended up going to Millinocket because in 2006, when our kids were young, we had taken a vacation to Millinocket, Maine, because we wanted to spend a little bit of time at Baxter State Park, because Millinocket is close to the south entrance of Baxter State Park, and it's also close to the Penobscot River, which offers some outstanding whitewater rafting.
Outstanding. Wow, that was a lot of fun. If you get a chance to do it, highly recommend it.
And even though it was 15 years ago that we went, the company that we went with, New England Outdoor Center, is still doing business there. And I'll make sure to put a link in the description below to their business because they offer some wonderful trips. We did, at the time, 15 years ago, an all-day trip, which included a stop for lunch and Class 2 through Class 5 rapids.
And they also let you stop and swim along the way and have it just, you just really enjoy the day. It's a great one. Highly recommend that for sure.
It was a lot of fun, and at some point we'd like to go back again and do it again. It just wasn't in the cards for us to do it this time.
Yeah, because the reason why we ended up in Millinocket was because it was raining all day.
Right? So it just turned out to be one of those last minute road trips that we do. And we were going to also go into Baxter State Park and work our way through Baxter State Park. However, this is a very key point for you guys. Pets are not allowed in Baxter State Park. It was part of the initial land grant that former Governor Baxter made when he granted the land to the state of Maine. So no pets of any sort are allowed inside the park, and we had Sky with us.
Even if they stay in your vehicle and you never get out or even stop, they're still not allowed at all.
Right, and there is a fine if you try and cheat the system, of course. So we had made our way to Millinocket. Another tip for you is Golden Road.
Yes.
So Golden Road offers a whole bunch of animal viewing. In the past, we've seen moose, deer, and black bear along that road. It's kind of like an old logging road, maybe, in a way. It's partially paved, partially gravel, and goes for miles.
There's also a lot of water out there, so we saw people out there in their kayaks or on their paddle boards. You can get into the water, you can paddle out a ways into the ponds there, and even find even more moose that didn't make it to the road yet.
Right. Plenty of lakes, ponds, and the Golden Road runs along the Penobscot River, which is where New England Outdoor Center does its whitewater rafting. Now, the Penobscot River is also a great location for fly fishing, and they do have a yearly salmon run, and then when the mayfly hatches on, my understanding is they're really biting.
And if you want, you can also sign up for a tour guide to take you fishing also. Right.
That's what we did. And when we were staying at the campground 15 years ago, the campground that we stayed at, Twin Pines, actually had agreements with local guides to do fly fishing guided trips and things like that, either a float trip or on shore. So Craig and I actually did one of those, and it was amazing.
Yeah, what's really nice is we stayed in a cabin in that Twin Pines, and they're still there, and they still look great from the outside. Of course, we didn't go inside this time, but they still look great from the outside. They're still open for business, and so there's a lot of options. There's RV parks in the area. There's also state campgrounds. If you want to pitch a tent, you could pitch a tent. So look those up. You can find all kinds of different things to do in that area.
Right, and many of those state campgrounds that she's talking about are right along Golden Road along the Penobscot River.
We had lunch in one.
We had lunch in one, and we even had an opportunity to see some rafters from New England Outdoor Center hitting some of the rapids when we were walking along the river.
Talk about bringing back memories.
Right, and Sky, this is how we found out Sky is a true blueberry connoisseur.
Right?
Because as we were checking out the river and watching the whitewater rafters, we found some blueberry bushes. So Alice and I started picking a few blueberries and snacking on them. Next thing I know, Sky's over there munching on blueberries right off of the bush. So I thought that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, she did a great job. She knows how to pick blueberries, but I would not count on her putting them in the bucket.
No, I don't think any of them are going to get in a bucket. So after we had driven the Millinocket area, taken our trip down memory lane, as it were, we decided it's time to move on to Baxter State Park, and that's when we found out pets weren't allowed. So as we're sitting there, we're like, now what are we going to do? So we're leaving the park, go back out toward the freeway.
Because it's only like 1:30 in the afternoon, you know. We're not that far from where we were staying, close to Bar Harbor. So yeah, what did we do? We kept on going north.
We kept going north because I had tried to get stationed at Loring Air Force Base when I was in the Air Force. I didn't know that you could actually go and tour the Air Force Base, but as we were headed north, we stopped at a visitor information center and spoke to one of the guys working there, and he gave us a lot of really good information.
Yeah.
About Loring Air Force Base. And so we go ahead and continue our trip to Loring Air Force Base. We found the museum, which was a fairly small museum, but they had small sections for each of the kind of divisions, as it were. There was a section for security police, which is what I was. So in that section, it was pretty cool, kind of reminiscing old days. Saw a lot of the old equipment that I used to use when I was a security policeman, and they had a big board there that had a finish on it with a Sharpie pen that was for former security police officers. They could sign their name on the board. So I signed my name and put the years of service that I was there, and then I turn around and I notice, hey, there's also one for canine handlers.
Yep.
So since I was a canine handler, I had an opportunity to sign that board as well. So that was pretty cool. Now the downside of what we did that day was we got a late start. So we didn't really get to spend much time there. Everything was kind of rushed and hectic because there are other things that you can do while you're there. But we did visit the museum, and then we went on to visit, when we talked to one of the museum workers, she told us about the Sentry Dog Cemetery that was there. So I thought that was really cool, so we wanted to go and check that out. So we had an opportunity to walk around the Sentry Dog Cemetery.
Right.
So we're at Loring Air Force Base, and we're at the Sentry Dog Cemetery, the 42nd Combat Defense Squadron. So I was a canine handler when I was in the Air Force, and sentry dogs were pretty much gone at that point in time. Sentry dogs were Vietnam era and prior. We worked, when I was patrol dogs and then special duty dogs like drug dogs or bomb dogs. So from what I'm gathering at the sign over here, this is the last post of all posts for sentry dogs, which to me means that this is the last place where sentry dogs were employed with the United States Air Force. Pretty cool. So in this cemetery, you have Baron, Blitz, Boots, Dutch, Jack, King, Kurt, Penny, Rex, Val, Will, and Wolf.
They really have a lot of information if you ask questions, and they'll give you all of the answers. There's also bunkers in there. Now, the only thing that we didn't understand when we were talking to them about the bunkers is they are actually in the wildlife refuge. Area. So we thought, well, we must have missed them. We kept turning around and looking for them, but we just didn't go far enough. So if you do make this trip and you want to see the old bunkers, go into the wildlife refuge and you'll be able to check those bunkers out inside of there.
Right. And something that I found out as I was doing some research for this video as a talking point, going back to the Sentry Dog Cemetery, I found out that at the time, in 2014, the Sentry Dog Cemetery was completely in disrepair, and a young man by the name of David Cyr, at the age of 16, took it upon himself as an Eagle Scout project to rebuild the cemetery the best possible And I'll make sure to put a link to that story in the description as well. I thought it was very cool to see that somebody at the age of 16 was paying tribute to sentry dogs who had served our country. I thought it was just a really cool project that David did, and the local news did an awesome story on that, and there's even a video you can watch.